Hi. Sincere thanks to Book Angels for inviting me to your blog. I'll do my best to answer your questions about Love of Secrets. You asked me what was the inspiration behind the novel. I was thinking to write about female freedom fighters in World War II in a sort of split time novel. There are thousands of books about men in one war or another, but there's not a lot about women, and women struggle too. I'd written a very successful novel called Island of Secrets, which was based in Crete. Actually, it was based on the very house that I lived in. I dug a machine gun up in the garden, and it led me to investigate and write about the village in wartime. So now that I live in Rhodes, it made sense that Rhodes should be the next location. I just love doing the research and also listening to people's stories. People are so interesting. Everybody's got a different life. I set out to find something extraordinary about the women of Rhodes in the last war and marry it with something extraordinary about present day life. So while I was surfing stuff about Rhodes and the war, I came across the story of a 15-year-old freedom fighter, a young girl on a Greek island. Sounded like a good start to me, It seemed to have the potential. She was Jewish. I know nothing about the Jewish religion. So I googled Jewish girl, freedom fighter, Rhodes, and I ended up with pages about a love child, a Holocaust survivor, a freedom fighter, and the secret past of a grandmother. So there had to be a story in there somewhere. Then, on one of the Jewish websites, I came across an article about Rhodes, the secret door in the police headquarters, here on the island, locked for 70 years. A government minister, a woman, and an Italian historian who had tried for a decade to get the door opened and failed. And I just couldn't believe what I was reading. I mean, this was fact, not fiction. And so the story developed. One thing led to another, and the what ifs came into play. It was exciting. It was a really thrilling journey. You asked, did I always want to be a writer? My worst nightmare, I'm dyslexic. That's like asking a person with an acute stammer if they always wanted to be the town crier. The computer, I'm in love with my computer. Without it, I could never have written anything. But I love telling a yarn, and I love an audience, and I love seeing people smile. We don't smile enough, do we? We seem to dwell on the misery in the world. Stories are great. What other jobs have I done? Well, I started life as a 15-year-old trainee window dresser in Ellesmere Port. I was 15 years and 1 week old when I started work for £3.50 a week for a 42-hour week. I got the sack 3 weeks later because I pinned all the prize tickets onto the leather coats. God. But I got good at it. I put myself into college at night school, and I learnt window dressing. I loved it, and I became a mobile window dresser for Merseyside and Cheshire, and later for the Johannesburg area of South Africa. Then I did some modelling, which comes into play in one of my books. Then I started my own business in the UK. When I was 45, I had to decide which direction to go, and I decided to retire. I'd reached my ambitions. I looked forward to learning new skills because I'd always been a workaholic and spent too much time doing what I was doing at the time. So, I looked forward to retiring. You asked, how did it feel when my first novel, Island of Secrets, was published? Wow, that was a magical day. I got up at 3 o'clock in the morning, and I went to bed at 3 o'clock the following morning, and it was just incredible. Yeah, I couldn't believe I'd done it. You ask if I can tell you a little about my publishing story. Every year I set myself a challenge on New Year's Day, and I treat it like a part-time job since I've retired. So I've managed quite a number of things over the years: Greek dancing, building, sailing, guitar, self-sufficiency, photography. And then I tried writing. I decided, because I'm dyslexic, it was a really big challenge. Yeah, so I wrote short stories and poems and, well, rhymes. Developed into, I wrote a novel, printed it off, put it in a big brown envelope and sent it to Random House. And I cried when I got a rejection slip. Yes, well, I didn't know about editors and things, did I? Oh, bless them. Do you know what they said? It's not quite for us. Oh, thank you. It was shocking. It was absolutely shocking, but never mind. Have I got more books? Yes, I've got a whole drawer full of first drafts. Have I ever had writer's block? Well, writer's block sounds quite drastic. I mean, it sounds scary. I've been stuck on how to describe the situation, what angle, in what mood, and so on. And I just forget about it. Read other stuff, play Candy Crush, do some gardening, concentrate on something else entirely. And it's not long before I want to get back to it. What motivates me to keep writing? I don't know, it's another world, isn't it? I can't say I retreat into a world that I create, because although a plot, the story still leads me into sort of unknown territory. Then more research sort of puts meat onto the bones of whatever's in my head. It's just exciting. I love to learn stuff, you know. Facts are fascinating. And it's easy to weave them into a story and bend them a little bit. Where's my favourite place to write? Well, right here. I write here in this room. It's a small... When I built the house, it was, you know, like the third bedroom, but I always planned to have it as an office. It's got a bed settee, which you can see behind me. And if I'm writing to a deadline and I've got to get it done and I get up in the night and I fall asleep, I can just lay down on the sofa and have a few hours, and then I get up and I keep banging at it, you know. It's great. And if I carry on into the day, it's a bonus, but it's not very fair on my hubby because I don't want him to come through the door. I don't want to be distracted at all. And the window that I'm facing looks out onto the airport runway, which is brilliant. I think it's saved my eyesight because every time a plane comes past, I look up and focus, and that's really good because I think writers that sit at the computer for 8, 10, 12 hours a day, you know, you damaging your eye, damages your eyesight, and as yet, I'm pretty good without glasses. Do characters' moods ever affect my mood and vice versa? I think my mood, which usually comes from the research, affects my characters. If I'm shocked or surprised or saddened or amused, I hope it comes through in my work. And if I'm really upset, with Island of Secrets, you know, I cried and cried and cried. You know, every time I edited it, I was in tears. I hope it comes through in my work, and if I'm really upset, then I hope the reader sheds a tear. Likewise, if I'm really amused, I hope my reader laughs out loud. It's not my plan to embarrass you, I just want you to feel it. What 3 pieces of advice would I give to an aspiring writer? I've got 4 actually. Keep a notebook and a pen at the side of the bed, because you have this brainwave in the middle of the night, and it doesn't matter how many times you say it over to yourself as you're going back to sleep. In the morning, all you're left with is, I had a really good idea last night, I can't remember what it was. So always keep that notebook there. Embrace criticism. You can't put a price on good criticism. That's what my editor does. Use as few words as possible. You know, you don't have to sit in the chair, you can just sit. Get a brilliant editor that you can really trust. My publishers do the editing now, but if it wasn't for... That was my husband. But he's going back out now. But if it wasn't for Tony Filer of Jefferson Franklin Editing, I would never have found my fabulous agent and gone on to be published. Tony picked me up and gave me a verbal slapping in my darkest hour, and we all need somebody like that. What authors inspire me? Well, all authors inspire me. Every writer that reaches the final line, the end, gives me hope. What am I reading at the moment? I've just finished Girl on a Train. by Paula Hawkins. Very good. I stole it from the cruise ship library at Christmas. You can prove it. Anyway. I was halfway through, so I left 3 novels in its place and I was scarpered with a swag. Absolutely brilliant. I've read it twice since. I've read this too. Richard North Patterson, Exile. This is one brilliant book. Richard Patterson, he is very detailed. His research is tremendous. And I learned so much from this about the Palestinians and the Israelis and the war, which I've never understood why they're always fighting. But actually, this explains it all in a novel, and it is fantastic. I recommend it. I'm also trying to read Kingsley Amis, The Alteration. Yeah, I'm having a bit of trouble with it because I know it's about an unslavery subject, and I keep starting it and putting it down, reading something else. You asked if Villa of Secrets was made into a film, what song would I choose for the opening credits? Well, definitely O Mia Bambino Caro, sung by Sarah Brightman. All the way through Villa of Secrets, I imagined her as my protagonist, and if the novel was made into a film, she'd be my lead. What's my next book about? Oh, that's very exciting. I've got 2 on the go, but one is about Santorini, love, antiquities, smuggling, archaeology, murder, revenge, split timeline, a modern woman now, and the eruption of Plato's Atlantis. Santorini. The other novel is about London and Rhodes and has some of the same characters as Villa of Secrets. I think I've talked enough. Thank you so much, Book Angels, for allowing me to talk about Villa of Secrets. And also thank you for your support when Island of Secrets was published last year. So, for all you writers and readers out there, what can I say? Happy scribbling, happy reading, and bye from me. Bye.